It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Well, good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now, right here. I feel like saying from the old Laurel and Hardy cartoon, well, it's another fine mess you've gotten us into. Because we are literally, on the edge of disaster. If you haven't heard, Reid came out yesterday and said, every person who has discussed an issue or complained about the horrors of Obamacare is a liar, telling lies made out of whole cloth. It's Harry's statement. Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry Reid. The traitor of the Senate, the most powerful Democrat in the nation, aside from Barack Hussein, insane, the usurper, the stealer of the throne, the illegal immigrant, the illegal alien, Obama. For Harry Reid to make a statement like that, impugning the honesty and integrity and the political ideology of millions of Americans, is unconscionable. He said it because he was trying to throw the Koch brothers under the bus for paying for the ads that feature people who can say, hey, I got stiffed by Obamacare, my premiums went up, or my doctor got lost, or I've got cancer and I can't get to, they canceled my surgery, and, on and on and on and on and on. You've heard many of them. But to sit and call literally tens of thousands of Americans who truly have real horror stories, many of them Democrats, many of them supporters of Obamacare, many of them voted for Barack Obama and Harry Reid, and to call them liars made up of whole cloth. This is from the guy who told us that Romney didn't pay his taxes. Remember that during the 2012 election? It turns out he did. This from the guy who's been promising us that if you just were willing to accept Obamacare, you could keep your doctor if you liked it, and you could keep your insurance plan if you liked it. This from the guy who has been accused of more dirty real estate deals than Donald Trump. He's a proven liar, and I use the word proven. And now he has the unmitigated gall to accuse just run-of-the-mill plain Jane people who don't make $195,000 a year, who haven't been sitting up there in the lap of luxury under a foreign title, which under the original 13th Amendment would have required that he have his citizenship stripped and be kicked out of the country. This guy is a traitor. You spell that with a capital T. Bold, all caps. Traitor. I don't care if he's trying to throw the Koch brothers under the bus. This was the guy who screamed, failed decorum, when Joe Miller called out Obama and screamed out, you lie, during a speech. Turns out he did lie, and about that specific issue. So Joe Wilson wasn't wrong. He just didn't show the proper decorum. Harry Reid is wrong. And as the senior most Democrat in the nation, outside of the executive, as the senior most Democrat in the Congress, he is a pathetic fool. You see, according to Dirty Harry Reid, you can say anything you want about the American people who are his bosses, but you can't say anything about the illegal alien Manchurian usurper candidate who is sitting in the Oval Office making it into a private throne room. Harry's not up for election this year, folks. That's too bad. I wish that somehow or other we could remove the gravity from the planet in the personal sphere of Harry. He makes me ill. We're going to talk this morning about that. We're going to also expose the fact that a British intelligence officer has come out and dropped a bombshell. And he said it publicly during a testimony in England, of course, in which he's stating that Obama was born in Kenya in 1960, that the CIA has conducted DNA tests and has empirical proof that he is not who he says he is, that he cannot draw the connection to his ancestry of either his mother, Anne, alleged mother, and or his grandparents. There is no match to his claimed grandparents, which would destroy the idea of his mother actually having been his real mother. And that not only does the United States have this empirical proof and evidence, but so do some newspapers in Britain, and there is hard physical proof in the documentation from the British intelligence service. It's quite a damning statement. We're going to look at it a little bit because it's interesting. I did a search just out of curiosity. I did a search. I just went onto Google and I typed in British intelligence, Obama, DNA, CIA, and guess what I got? Not a single mainstream media website. Not a single one. Every one of them was an alternative media site. Every one. Isn't that interesting? Our third topic is going to be House hearing. Obama has brought us to a constitutional tipping point. 3 out of 4 constitutional experts testifying, by the way, 3 out of the 4 are liberal, all testified at a House hearing on the judiciary. Jonathan Turley among them. Now, I've read you Jonathan Turley's work before, including his last statement. And here's what he had to say on this incident. I believe we are now at a constitutional tipping point in our system. It's a dangerous point for our system to be in, and I believe that your response has to begin before this president leaves office. No one in our system goes it alone. They're talking about Barack Obama's overreach, and they're making it clear, every one of them, that we are at a point where everything is changed. And this president is responsible for that. He made a lot of other statements, including things that sounded like a dangerous change in our system. He talked about the fact that Obama claims that these are different times and unprecedented times. Here's what he had to say about that. It is simply untrue that we're living in very different or unprecedented times. The framers themselves lived in these times. This is not a different political time. and it should not be used as an excuse for extra constitutional action. This is a guy who voted for Obama, who openly declares that he is in support of most of Obama's programs. What he strongly recommends against is the methodology by which Obama is instituting them. The simple truth is, ladies and gentlemen, that we have a president who has become an imperialist. And if you take our earlier story of this British intelligencer and the fact that there is ample proof that his birth certificate was fraudulently manufactured, he is not qualified to be sitting in the seat. Our fourth and final segment this morning will be a news review. And this is going to be a new section for us, and I got to tell you why. There's so much news. It is a torrent, a fire hose of information that is just pouring out every day. And the truth is, I can't get to them all. Yes, I like to bloviate a little bit and, expose some of this stuff and then give you my take on it. But the truth is, folks, there's more than I can possibly talk about. I mean, and I don't want it to be a question where people are left without information because I can't reach it. So what we're going to do is take the last segment of the day, and I'll do this as often as necessary. If it becomes necessary to make it a final or a final segment of every show, then we'll do that. But we're going to look at it like a news wrap. And I'm going to try to go over these headlines, give you more than just the 10-second snippet bite, which is what you normally get in the news, and then we'll take it from there. And we'll just play along and see how it works. How's that? So let's start with our first topic this morning. Harry Reid is in a roid rage. He went out on the Senate floor twice yesterday, and he made some statements initially, and as a result of that, he then went back out on the floor a little bit later and tried to walk them back, but didn't actually accomplish that. In fact, he can't control himself because Harry Reid is a dangerous man, and there's no denying it. Harry Reid is so drunk on his own Kool-Aid that he actually, in his first statement, had the nerve to say that he used the word all of the Obamacare horror stories. This isn't me saying this. This is him saying this. That every single one of them, all, are untrue, and that they are a lie made up of, quote, whole cloth. Now, I'm going to let you hear it because it's only a minute. And frankly, I would allow you to see it, but I got to tell you what the problem is there, and you guys ought to know this as well. The reason I can't let you see it is because we've got a piece of software that we use that we can't really afford to buy the full-blown version that enables us to share screens and let me show you a screen. And so, based on the fact that we just don't have the money to buy it, we are limited in what I can give you. Which is why, this is a radio show and not a television studio, because we don't have the money to build that. So let me just play this for you, and so that you understand the depth of the depravity of this piece of trash. He's calling literally millions of Americans liars. And I got to tell you, this is an embarrassment for our country, because anytime you got a guy like him who would...
All that good news, there's plenty of horror stories being told. All of them are untrue, but they're being told all over America. The leukemia patient whose insurance policy was canceled would die without her medication. Mr. President, that's an ad being paid for by 2 billionaire brothers. It's absolutely false. Or the woman whose insurance policy went up $700 a month. Ads paid for around America by the multi-billionaire Koch brothers, and the ad is false. We heard about the evils of Obamacare, about the lives it's ruining, and Republican stump speeches and ads paid for by oil magnates, the Koch brothers. But in those tales, turned out to be just that, tales. Stories made up from whole cloth. Lies distorted by the Republicans to grab headlines or make...
Okay. Stories made up of whole cloth. Lies. He said the word lies. Now, Dirty Harry is, I mean, I get it. He's trying to throw the Koch brothers under the bus. The problem, of course, is that he's neglecting to acknowledge the fact that he and the rest of his pals in the Senate and frankly in Congress and across the government are all guilty of the same exact thing, except with George Soros's money and their ilk. He's got lots and lots and lots of donors. In fact, he went to a fundraiser the other day while he was simultaneously, in fact, the same day he threw the Koch brothers under the bus a couple of days ago on camera. He then went to a fundraiser at a billionaire's home. So, you know, this is the age-old biblical adage that before you point out the speck in my eye, perhaps thou shouldst look at the log in thine own. Of course, Harry in the Bible, or Harry in honor, and in Harry in truth, and Harry in honor and integrity, and those two words can never, or those phrases can never be used in the same sentence, because Harry is a liar, pathological, and he's a sycophant, and he is an absolute ideologue. He would lie about anything to protect his position, this administration, and the damage that he's done to the United States of America. He's a traitor. Traitor. Guilty of treason. Now, I'd like to know why the nation is unwilling to hold him to account for it. I'm going to tell you what my impression is, and I'm going to tell you why I think so. The media refuses to talk about the things that are real. When I say that, I'm talking about ABC, NBC, and CBS. I'm talking about MSNBC. I'm talking about Communist News Network, CNN. I'm also talking about Fox News. Now, they've been covering this, but the controlled opposition of Fox only talks about those areas that they feel are important. I wonder why they haven't brought out the bombshell I'm going to talk about next, which is the British intelligence officer who stated in a testimony that Barack Obama is not, was born in Kenya, and therefore his birth certificate is false. I want to know why they won't cover those stories. I want to know why they won't cover and do an expose on his birth certificate. Brent Bazell was out last night. I think he was on Megyn Kelly's show, if I'm not mistaken. And he was talking about an example of how this is happening in the media, just so that you grasp the context of this. When it came to talking about these things, they spent a grand total of 22 seconds talking about this, and 26 minutes, I believe is what he said. I could be wrong now about those. But I mean, it was seconds compared to 20 some odd minutes talking about Justin Bieber. There you go, folks. For real. So America is being lied to by omission, which is even worse, frankly, than a flat-out lie, because from the news media, they have an obligation a fiduciary obligation to the citizenry to do better. Dirty Harry Reid. Perhaps the greatest American-born traitor alive. I segment him from Barack Obama because Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States, but that's a whole different story. And we're going to cover that one next. What a great segue. All right. We're going to take a break. When we return, we're going to tackle this, and I'm going to let you hear this British intelligence officer. There's a whole bunch of clips. It was like an hour-long testimony or an hour and a half, but in the first couple of minutes, he covers some amazing things. Obama was born in Kenya. The CIA did a DNA test, which failed to establish his connection to his grandparents. That many newspapers in England are aware of it, that the United States of America has documented empirical proof and won't use it. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.